Hey guys, this is Anna here with Passions of Paper. I've got two new journals to show you that I have recently completed. These both were previous projects that I got just never finished, and I took a break from my current project, which is sunflower journals, and made these. So this one was made from these grungy pages that I had made last October. I made a whole bunch of them, and I still have enough left for another book or two. And this one, I made this signature back in March for a journal I was going to make for myself, but I ended up making something else. And I really, really loved these pages, so I wasn't sure if I was going to eventually still make it for myself, but I have just, after making my giant nature journal, I really don't need this. So I've turned these both into finished products, and they are already in my Etsy shop. So this one, it has a tied closure made out of this really soft fabric. I don't know fabric names very well, so I don't know what that's called. I have two little spine dangles of just green beads, various types. And then I put a muslin fabric piece on there so that you can give your journal a title. And this just slips off. It's got some stretch to it. And real quick, we'll go through this. This is a single signature journal. It is 9 by 6 inches. It is 168 pages. I did a lot of distressing to it to make it look grungy and vintage, and I did some ink splatters to just add some more of that dirty nature feel to it. Of course, none of this is dirty, it is just art. There's coffee stains on here too. This is a rusted paper clip. And I heavily distressed these pages to make them look like old, crinkled newspaper. So some are more distressed than others. For some reason, this stuff is a little bit sticky in these thicker spots, so these two pages do like to stick a little bit. So yeah, it won't tear the page, it just sticks a little bit. So these pages are really crinkly and just very distressed. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly. I actually already recorded this video, and the sound quality is absolutely awful. I don't know what happened. My camera's never done that before. But yeah, so now I have to redo it all. And I'm getting really tired, so hopefully, you know how bad I am with my words. Hopefully I don't get even worse. So it's got my usual wide variety of different types of pages. This has a very wide variety of digitals. It's kind of like a nature vintage eclectic journal. I really love how these pages turn out. They really do feel like old newspaper pages. And this is newsprint paper, which is fun. I really love writing on newsprint, and it sucks the ink up really well. Here I've got an envelope that I heavily distressed, so it looks really vintage. It looks kind of like faux leather, which I forgot to talk about. The cover here is a faux leather. It's made from a brown file folder that I inked and distressed, and I put conditioner on it to give it that soft fabric-y feel. It's very flexible. So yeah, that's what that is. So in this pocket here, we've got a vintage, this is a real vintage book page. It's the only real, these two are the only real vintage items in this book. The rest of it's digital prints or my own made pages. So, yeah, just some nature items to add. Just a really fun collection of pages. I don't know what it is about ferns, but I'm obsessed with ferns. I would like to make, for my next nature journal, I want to make a darker nature journal with like overgrown ferns all over it. This page here is tracing paper. My printer hates tracing paper. It does not like to print well. Well, I actually did get this map to print on the full page, and then I actually managed to somehow get it to print on the other side. And I have never been successful ever since. So this page is just really cool because, of course, it's the really cool texture of tracing paper, and it's see-through. You can see a little bit of the map on the back side. But because it's double printed, it's really, the colors are really rich and vibrant. That's some thick art paper there. Ledger paper. Some digitals, and that's the end of that one. If it feels fast, I'm sorry. I'm just so tired, and I can't believe my last video's sound quality was all messed up. And I won't even know if this one's messed up until at the end and I watch it. So I could end up doing this 5 times before it comes through right. So this journal here, like I said, it's those grungy pages that I made back in October. It needed a cover. It was already built into signatures. I just needed a cover. Well, my original cover idea that I never finished, I ended up not liking. Now that I've got some experience under me, I ended up making this. I guess you could almost call it another faux leather. It's brown Amazon packaging, so it's flexible, the paper packaging kind of stuff. And I painted it, and started with a really, really dark, almost black color. Actually, I think I did start with black. And then I gradually made it lighter and lighter to give it depth and to make it look aged. And it feels really good. And here I've got some vintage green paper on it that's been crumpled and distressed. And we have this vintage photo of these cool stone buildings and archways. We've got a receipt that's been coffee dyed, a guest check that's been coffee dyed, a junk mail envelope that I coffee dyed, and then I used Tim Holtz decorative paper behind that. And we've got some fabric on here. This is just some loose thread that I collect. I collect all of my loose threads, and I can do so many fun things with them. So always keep that in mind when you pull off your threads from fabric, like, for example, from this fabric. So we've got some cheesecloth here that I coffee dyed, and then this is some tablecloth cheesecloth that was already that color, this beautiful rusty reddish orange color. And then we've got these metal items that I have found out in the world, and they're like naturally rusted. And I feel like that they've got a little story to tell because they've been living out in the world for who knows how long, who knows what they've been through and seen. And I was originally collecting these and saving them up to make myself a meaningful cover for a future journal, but when I made this cover, these items just felt perfect for it. So I'm calling this journal the Rusty Findings Journal. And here I made some dangles, and I love the way that they get a little tangled up there. I feel like that adds a lot to the grunge. And there are paper beads, glass beads, and wood beads all throughout those. So it's a fun mixture. Lots of stuff going on in there. And they sound great. So that's that. The inside is a flour sack towel that I have coffee dyed. I love the way that it pick up the colors. It like pulls some color to some areas and only a little bit in other areas, and that's just what it does. That's its character. And I did not add pockets because I wanted you to really be able to feel the faux leatherness of this. Same thing with the other one. So I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly. I'm getting really tired. I'm sorry. I'd used all kinds of mediums in this journal. I did a lot of sewing with this really thick black thread. I don't know if it's embroidery thread or what, but it is really thick. It's kind of hard to work with, but I just love the texture that it adds to the journal, so it's worth it to me. I did a lot of stenciling and stamping. There's coffee splatters, rust splatters, acrylic paints. And I do different fabrics throughout for textures and colors. I just really grunge things up. There's gesso as well. This is a coffee filter. Came out really beautiful. I think I did charcoals as well, and on here I did spray inks, and I also did they're not, what are they called? They're not chalks. There's also digitals, so it's not every page. Not every page is all work, all physical artwork. Got this nice little baggie here that you can fit a lot of stuff in. Did some stuff on crazy stuff on here. There's a lot of crazy stuff in this book. You know, you just sit down and you just really get into the art and just go to town. Try to be as crazy as possible. Love this page. This is maybe my favorite one, if not one of my favorites. Well, it's one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I've got this tab up here. I love the little tassels of the sewing thread because it's so thick. So it really makes a nice little tassel. This journal is 3 signatures. I'll need to cut the end off of this bag and turn that into a pocket, or if I have not remembered to do that, feel free to just cut down on the edge here, and that opens this up into another pocket. And this was with the rust water, and some charcoals and inks, paints. There's so much stuff going on these pages, and like I said, I did it back in October, and it's May now, so I kind of don't really remember everything. That was back when my craft room was down in the black basement. Black walls, no windows, so dark. It was an awful place to craft. I'm very fortunate to have a real craft room now with a window and lots of lighting. This page, it is coffee dyed paper. I tried printing on it. For some reason, I'm never successful printing on coffee dyed paper. I don't understand how people can print on tracing paper, vellum paper, coffee dyed paper, and make all these amazing things. And every time I try something, I have a brand new Epson printer and nothing ever works. One of those Epson Incotank ones. It's brand new. Just bought it a few months ago. And yeah, nothing works. So anyways, it got jammed and I pulled it out and it got ripped on both sides. Where I pulled, it ripped, and right here in the wheels it ripped. But the effect of it was so cool, I had to keep it. It's just so perfectly grungy. And of course now that page has a story to tell. This is from a vintage magazine. This is a wax seal they made. Adds some nice texture. This page it's got a lot of gesso or something on it. It feels really good. I'm not sure what all is in there. There's a lot going on right there. Oh yeah, and I did that ink powder, pigment ink powders. but I found those were kind of hard to control, so I haven't really been using them lately. This is another great page. I really love this one, how it turned out. All the stamping and stenciling and charcoal and paints and gesso and water blobs and lots of fun stuff going on in there. And I did these little page tab or whole paper tabs. These have been rusted. Got a fabric tab up here. Other side of that vintage magazine page. That's the other side of that torn page. So this is where my hand was grabbing it, and this whole chunk ripped off. And it looks really cool. So on this page here, if you notice this, I have a deer butt because it was just leftover scrap from another project from like a nature journal I was doing. And so I just had this scrap just sitting on my desk. And when I came across it, because of course my desk is completely cluttered in art supplies, so when I came across it, I was like, oh my gosh, that needs to be used. So yes, there is a deer butt in my journal. We've got a rusted safety pin here on this vintage fabric that has been coffee dyed. And this little metal thingy here, it says, your past does not determine who you are. Your past prepares you for who you are to become. And then on here, I've got this rusted metal piece from a spiral notebook. Those rust really nicely, and they were a lot of fun to work with. We've got some architecture digitals here, tab there. Made this fun little frame. It's got some jute string throughout, and some burlap down there, and then some stenciling, some beautiful stenciling on the inside. Lots of artwork, grunge. This page I sewed and did not realize that the strings were not sticking in until I was all the way done. And I just loved the way it looked and felt without the strings, so I just left it. I like the way that turned out. That feels pretty cool. We've got the rusted paper here. This is some specialty paper from Hobby Lobby. It's got these ridges on it like corrugated cardboard. So you can feel that on there. This is just some random piece of fabric. A lot of sprays going on here and stenciling. This was cut out from a vintage magazine. I just thought it looked really cool, so I put it in. And here we've got this fabric piece here, and this pocket with this really cool paper from a paper pack I have. And this is a vintage photo with some really cool architecture. And this photo is actually two photos. But it's like tearing on the back one. So there is actually another, like a secret photo back there, but I can't take these apart to figure out what it is. So it's pretty cool. That little photo's got a little story. Gesso on a stencil. It turned out really cool. This is upholstery fabric tab. I love the sewed frames on the pages. They look really nice. Here's more of that. A little paper. That's got texture. And there she is. That's the last page. So I did another frame. And that's the end of that book. So these books are already listed in my Etsy shop. So feel free to hop on over. I'll put the link in the description. And coming soon will be a video for my sunflower journals. So thank you guys so much for watching and stay tuned. Bye.